Well, welcome to an exciting episode about a super cool ingredient with a super cool guest. We're going to talk about algae and we'll talk to Catherine, soon to be Dr. Catharine Arnston. And today we're going to dive into a superfood that really deserves a spot on everyone's plate, whether you're in menopause or not, man or woman, adult or child, even your pets. And we're going to cover things like chlorella, spirulina, and what are the differences, how an ingredient in spirulina wards off cancer cells, how to detox from chemotherapy, alcohol, and other toxins. We're going to talk about Catherine's personal tips for staying so youthful and vibrant at 68, and the differences among algae, seaweed, and kelp. Yes, they're all different. And how much spirulina and chlorella to take that's equivalent to 30 grams of protein. It's pretty amazing. And why microalgae and macroalgae are not the same and what's better. And why most chlorella and spirulina on the shelves are devoid of nutrient value and enzymes. So it's September. I'm back in Spain. I'm hanging up the nomad wings for a little while. And in the Biohacking Menopause membership group, remember, this is the women's only private menopause support group. We have live guest experts on the show. I give live Q&As, and we have a breathwork class today. If you want to jump in, I teach you how to breathe through menopause, functional breathing. It's so practical, so useful. So the link to that is in the show notes. We also have in September Dr. Jeffrey Gross, and he's going to answer our questions on stem cells and exosomes. We have Dr. Indra Bharathan, and she's our in-house functional medicine doctor, and she's always there to get you a second opinion on your hormones and why you're not metabolizing and your gut issues and your brain fog and what else it could be other than menopause as well. So she's such a great resource, and we have her every month. So she's really cool. And we have Dr. Fiona Lovely, and we did a great podcast with her all on brain and brain health. So she's there to answer your questions about brain and cognitive function and hormones and menopause and all that. And so she's amazing. And these live Q&As are really informal. The group is still quite intimate, so we get your questions answered. It's not like you have to sit and listen to a presentation, yada yada. No, you just come directly with your problems, right? And before we jump into who I'm already calling her Dr. Catharine Arnston is, sign up to the newsletter. It's getting really juicy. The link is in the show notes. And I'm going to try to do every week, but a couple times a month at least. We got some great information on the latest and greatest that I'm finding out in menopause, as well as some tips and hints on biohacking. And let's talk about Catharine Arnston. She's the founder of ENERGYbits, and you're going to hear on this discussion that these little bits are just teeny tiny compressed algae tablets. I don't even want to call it a supplement. It's not a supplement. It's just food compressed into a form that we can easily eat. And Catherine, she can get really into the weeds of the science because she reads scientific papers on algae all day long for the last 15 years. But she's really great at sharing the science in a way that we can all understand, and why namely spirulina and chlorella in ENERGYbits are a simple and effective solution for supporting our transition into menopause and beyond. So in fact, she said that we can totally replace all of our supplements with ENERGYbits, with this chlorella and spirulina. And you know what? I think I'm going to try this. I've got a new order coming in, and I'm going to do some testing first. Then I'm going to go off all my supplements for 3 months, except taking the ENERGYbits. I'll retest and then see what happens. Why not? Right? I think it would be a really cool biohacking experiment, and I'll keep you posted. And now a little bit about Catherine's background. She you're going to hear that she's obviously an expert in algae nutrition, and she's an entrepreneur running a full-time successful business. And she not only has an MBA, but she's also just finishing studying for her PhD in natural health. And she's 68 years old. I mean, 68 years strong, as I should say. And you're going to hear it. Her brain is on fire. I mean, she started this journey and this business when she was probably in her mid 50s. And I call that inspiration. So I had to ask her what else, other than eating algae, has she been doing in the last 15 years? And you're going to hear what she says. Now, she literally lives and breathes algae research, and she's going to be my go-to for any questions I have about seaweed and, which is really, honestly, algae, seaweed, kelp. This is nothing new. In the health and longevity space, we know the benefits of it. For some reason, it just hasn't quite made it into our diet in the Western world, other than maybe when you go out for a Japanese meal once in a blue moon. And you're going to hear how passionate Catherine is about changing this and educating us about this superfood and how we absolutely need to eat it every single day. And ENERGYbits makes it obviously so much easier. And she was so generous to give us a whopping 20% off on our orders using the code Zora at ENERGYbits.com. And I'll have the code in the show notes for you. And before we jump into the episode, we have to read the fancy disclaimer that Catharine Arnston is not a doctor or medical professional, and any of the information and science that she provides is for educational purposes only, and it's not intended to treat or diagnose any health condition. So now let's get started with the show. Well, it's a real pleasure to introduce you to Catharine Arnston. Welcome.
Well, glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm super excited to talk about seaweed.
Well, algae.
Yeah,
algae and seaweed are part of the algae family, but they, as you're going to find out, they are as different from each other as night is from day. They are completely opposite, and you'll be excited. And most people don't understand that because no one's telling you. So this is a good time to do it.
Exactly. I wanted to talk about seaweed, kelp, algae, like what are the differences? And I used to live in Hong Kong, and seaweed, or, this was in my menu every single day. And and it was so easy to find. And it's just one of those things. And like you, I could never understand why so many of us outside of Asia don't embrace seaweed more, or even aware of the benefits. Okay. So maybe let's start by you teaching us a little bit about the differences between the seaweed, kelp, and algae, and how you got into the study of algae, because your story is really fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So first of all, algae was the first life on Earth, not just the first plant, but the first life on Earth almost 4 billion years ago. It's proven. And it was actually a cyanobacteria like spirulina. We'll talk about the two different microalgae later on. Spirulina and chlorella are the two main ones. But it's its own food category. So first of all, you have to understand that. First life on Earth and its own food category. So as a food category, there are two main subcategories. One is called macroalgae, and the other one is called microalgae. I'm going to be talking about microalgae, and that's what spirulina and chlorella are, microalgae. But let me help you understand what macroalgae is. It's that stringy stuff that washes up on shore, also known as seaweed, dulse, or kelp. Those are all the same terms for the same thing. They are big stringy stuff from the sea. And it's called seaweed because it's only in the sea. You're going to find out microalgae is everywhere. So macroalgae, seaweed, or dulse or kelp, is good for you because it has high fiber and it has iodine because it's from the ocean. But it has virtually zero nutrition. I know you'll be stunned to know this, but zero nutrition. I used to buy big bags of kelp noodles, and you could flip it over. A huge bag would have maybe 5 calories in it because there's zero nutrition. It's just fiber. So it's good for you because of the fiber and also the iodine if you're looking for iodine. But so that's macroalgae. Again, seaweed, dulse, kelp. Microalgae is completely opposite. It either has zero fiber, spirulina has zero fiber because it's actually a bacteria, and chlorella, which we're going to talk about, has a little bit of fiber because it does belong to the plant kingdom. So microalgae, first of all, virtually zero fiber compared to macroalgae, which is all fiber, and microalgae has the highest concentration of nutrition in the universe. completely opposite to macroalgae, which has virtually zero nutrition. And this has been confirmed in tens of thousands of studies. It's endorsed by the United Nations as being the answer to world hunger because it has the highest concentration of protein. Spirulina, which is one of the main microalgae, has 3 times the amount of protein as steak or any other animal protein. NASA endorses both algae as having 1,000 times more nutrition than any other food, fruit, or vegetable. 1 to 1,000 in microalgae. Spirulina and Chlorella are microalgae. And the other third distinction between macro and microalgae is macroalgae, seaweed, is only in the sea. Microalgae is everywhere. Yes, it's in the sea, but it's also in the rivers, the lakes, the streams, the soil, your swimming pool, your aquarium, everywhere. And it is responsible for 80% of the oxygen on Earth, and it feeds all of the sea animals, the whales, the fish. They're all fed by algae. And the reason why spirulina and chlorella microalgae are so nutrient dense is they're so tiny. They're called microalgae because they're microscopic in size. You could get something like 1 million of these cells on the head of a pin. That's how tiny they are. So you can see they are completely opposite to macroalgae. Seaweed only in the ocean, zero nutrition, lots of fiber. Microalgae, zero fiber, literally spirulina, zero fiber, concentrated nutrition, and everywhere.
Does
Now,
it look small? Like, does it look stringy or like a
you
seaweed?
can't
Do
see
you
it.
know it?
You can't see microalgae.
Really?
That's why
Oh,
it's called microalgae. It's microscopic in size. Imagine 1 million cells on the head of a pin. You can't see that. Can't see it. They cluster and gather, and so there's, sometimes there's groups of them, but and the other thing is with macroalgae, the stringy stuff, there's only a handful of strains. There's red seaweed, green seaweed, but with microalgae, there's tens of thousands of strains. And the 2 that we know the most of are blue-green and green. Spirulina is 1 strain of blue-green algae, and Chlorella is 1 strain of green algae. And they are the 2, the reason why that's what we sell, and which almost anyone, whether you go to Target or Whole Foods or Costco, spirulina and Chlorella are the 2 main microalgae that people know about and use. And it's because they are the 2 strains that are harvested as food crops. Yes, there's other kinds of blue-green algae and green algae in the ocean. And yes, when you read about a blue-green algae closing your favorite beach, it's a blue-green algae, but it's not spirulina. Spirulina is just 1 type of blue-green algae. The type that's closing your beach is not spirulina. So people panic when they read about this, toxic. And by the way, blue-green algae and any algae, what it does is it's the cleanup crew. What it does is it kills bacteria and absorbs toxins. So it gets the bum rap because it's what people can see. But the reason it showed up is because there were toxins and bacteria in the water body, which you couldn't see. But so algae goes in there to absorb it and kill the bacteria. So, but you see it. So it gets the bum rap, but it's there as the cleanup crew, and it does the same thing in your body. So,
but if you don't see the microalgae, how do you harvest it and put it in a package?
well, I'm going to show you. Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
can't
Okay.
see it. You can't see it in your eye if you just look into the ocean. It's so tiny.
Uh-huh.
So, so just so you understand, there's tens of thousands of strains of microalgae. The 2 most common are spirulina and chlorella, and those are the 2 that are harvested as food crops. And the reason why people don't know about it outside of Asia is because 99%, 99.999% of spirulina and chlorella are grown in Asia, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, India, mostly in China, quite honestly, and that's where the crappy stuff comes from. But that's where it's all grown. You can't go to school or to work without riding on your bicycle or your car and driving by an algae farm. But they don't exist in other countries, or very, 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 very few of them. So the reason why people don't know about them is because they just don't see it. They don't see an algae farm. They see a cornfield or a wheat field or maybe a strawberry patch, or they don't see any algae farms. I do hope one day to grow it in Florida, because the Florida climate is identical to Taiwan, which is the gold standard for growing algae. And because growing algae is not like growing broccoli, it's more like making wine. It's affected by the sun, the angle, the concentration, and the way it's produced. And that's what makes us so special, is because of the way we produce it. We don't use high heat, which preserves the nutrients. We grow it in triple filtered spring mountain water, because algae absorbs whatever's in the water. Remember, I just said, if there's toxins in the water, they will be absorbed into the algae. Microtoxins are notorious for being in wild bodies of water like lakes or oceans. Never, ever, ever. There's a company, I don't want to say their name, but they grow their algae in Klamath Lake. And I have scientific papers that prove there are microtoxins in the lake and in their algae. We do third-party lab tests to prove that we don't have microtoxins. And of course, there never are, because we grow ours in triple filtered spring mountain water. But you were asking about what it's like to grow the algae. So here's a couple of pictures of algae farms. This is a Spirulina farm, and this is a Chlorella farm. Chlorella is in round farms. Spirulina is in long, narrow ones, because Spirulina, it's called Spirulina because when it grows into a long spiral. So when it's first started, and Chlorella is a very complicated crop to grow. It has to start in a test tube, a small test tube, and then move to a larger test tube, and then a larger test tube, and then a larger test tube, then a small circle farm, pond, as they're called, and then a larger one. Spirulina is pretty easy. Just plunk it in and it grows. So when it first starts, you can't see it because it's just this microscopic organism. But over time, as it grows, it does manifest. It does get into this stringy looking fibrous material because it's in a concentrated area. So you can see it, but when you just see it in your swimming pool or the lake or the ocean, it's microscopic, and that's why it's feeding all the fish, from the teeny tiny ones to the big ones, from like whales. But it's quite different from macroalgae. Again, macroalgae is that big leafy stuff, the big stringy stuff, big clusters of it. Microalgae is not that. It is these little teeny tiny single cells individually, but when you clump them together, you can get this kind of this vegetative amount.
There must be billions and billions of cells.
Billions, exactly. And that's why it's so nutrient dense, because you get these billions, quadrillions of cells all clumped together. We're going to talk to you about this, but we sell ours in little tiny tablets.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening, on the podcast, you got to go to the YouTube video, and you can see these teeny tiny. They look like almost Tic Tacs, or like round Tic Tacs.
Yeah, or baby aspirins, and you see the different colors. The darker one is Spirulina, because it's a blue-green algae, because it has two pigments in it. As remember, I said there was a blue-green. There's tens of thousands of blue-green algae, and Spirulina is one of them. But it's called blue-green because it has two pigments in it. A blue one called phycocyanin, which has amazing healing properties. We'll talk about that later, and I'll spell it for you because I want people to be able to find it online, because it's proven to kill cancer cells. That's pretty important. And then the lighter one is Chlorella, which only has one pigment, chlorophyll. Spirulina has the phycocyanin, the blue pigment, and chlorophyll. Chlorella is a green algae because it only has the chlorophyll as the pigment. So
I would like to ask you though, and I'm sorry to interrupt, I would love to know why are only these two out of thousands and thousands, the Chlorella and Spirulina, farmed and harvested when there's so many others? And before we do that, we cannot forget to share your story and how you got into this. So let's put a pin on that too.
Which would you like me to do first?
Let's talk about your story quickly about how you got into this, and then let's move on to why Chlorella and Spirulina only.
Yeah. And it's very easy. It's it's just historical, whatever. So, yeah, I'm Canadian. I've lived in the United States for 35 years. I have an MBA. I was doing international business, nothing to do with nutrition or agriculture. And 15 years, and I have two sisters, and my entire family is still in Canada. And I'm very close to my two sisters. One is older, one is younger. Particularly my younger one, my baby sister, because we shared rooms when we were growing up and all that sort of stuff. And so 15 years ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and we were all stunned because she was, in her 40s. She was young, athletic, had two children. I mean, just like the ideal lifestyle. But anyways, she got the diagnosis, and when she went to see her cancer specialist, her oncologist told her, didn't recommend, but told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet, because when she was preparing for chemo. And her oncologist, fortunately, was a woman, and women tend to be a little bit more open to nutritional therapies than men. And Canada's not quite as dogmatic with its pharmaceutical applications as America is. So, anyways, we were lucky that she had a female oncologist, and it was in Canada. So, but they didn't tell her what exactly an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So my baby sister called me. Not that I knew anything about nutrition, because I didn't, but I'm a very good researcher. In fact, I'm just in the middle of finishing my exams for my PhD, because I'm basically, I call myself a citizen scientist, because I just taught myself for 14 years science. So I said, I have no idea what this stuff is, but I will find out. It turned out an alkaline diet, it was basically a plant-based diet, based on the proof that chlorophyll and phytonutrients have been proven to build your immune system. And the other thing is, plant-based foods are alkaline. And there is a German scientist by the name of Otto Warburg, Warberg, I think it's ERG, who won a Nobel Prize. He's a German scientist back in the 30s for discovering that cancer cannot exist in your cells if they are slightly alkaline. There's an alkaline measurement. It goes from 0 to 14. 14 is the most alkaline, 0 is very acidic. And so your cells need to be 7.1, and which indicates slight alkalinity, because when there's slight alkalinity, that indicates there's oxygen in the cells, there's sufficient water, that the cells are healthy, that they're communicating, your mitochondria are working. When they get too acidic, that's when they turn their energy production into fermentation. They become rogue cells, they become sick, and that allows cancer to take hold. So when you have an alkaline diet, which turned out to be a plant-based diet, you are improving both the ability to strengthen your immune system, which she wanted her to have as she was going through chemo, and the alkalinity at the cellular level helps keep cancer out of your cells. So I have to believe those were the two reasons she wanted her to have this alkaline diet. So I did some research. My sister did change her diet. She did go through chemo. She completely healed. And I saw her last year. I see her every year. I'm going to see her actually in 2 weeks. We celebrate her being cancer-free every year. But in the process of helping her, now this was 15 years ago, I started learning about plant-based nutrition. And I thought, and nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition 15 years ago. So I thought, man, this stuff is pretty powerful. Maybe someone should tell the rest of the world. And I thought, well, I'm a very passionate person. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Now remember, I had zero nutrition background. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just had this little voice that said, you should do this. So I left my corporate career. I thought, well, I need some kind of certification. So I went to a school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York. It gave me an integrative health coaching certificate in 1 year. It wasn't a deep dive into nutrition, but it gave me enough. After that, I taught plant-based nutrition for a year at corporations and hospitals. And this is what led me to algae, because as I was teaching people the importance of plant-based nutrition and more vegetables, everyone kept saying, oh, I know I'm supposed to eat more vegetables, but they give me gas, or I throw them out, or they're too heavy to carry home. They take too long to cook. My husband won't eat them. My kids won't eat them. So I thought, okay, this is crazy. I know what this stuff does. I need to help people get the nutrition into them, but apparently it's too difficult. So I got to find an easy way to get them the green nutrition that they need. So once again, I just had no idea what I was going to do, but I just looked at everything I had recommended to my sister and just did a deeper scientific dive. And then when I got to algae and found out that it had the highest concentration of nutrients in the world, that it's got is the most alkaline food in the world, that there's 100,000 studies documenting the health benefits of it, that it's been used for thousands of years. It's been grown in Asia for 60 years. They take it every day there, every day, and they have the lowest obesity rates, cancer rates, best longevity in Japan. They take spirulina and chlorella every day. I thought, well, this is, and it came in these little tiny tablets that you could swallow or chew. Each tablet has so much nutrition in it, it's equal to an entire plate of vegetables. No cooking, no cleaning. There's no fiber in spirulina, so no digestive distress. It lasts 3 years. What vegetable lasts 3 years? You can give it to your pets. You can give it to your newborns. You can give it to your teens. I thought, this is it. This is the magic answer for getting green alkaline nutrition into people, because there's tens of thousands of studies proving that plant-based nutrition help reduce cancer, help reduce heart disease, help reduce just about everything, Alzheimer's, but people have a hard time focus, eating vegetables. They're just hard to travel with, hard to digest. When you get older, and menopausal women, as you get older, you have fewer digestive enzymes. You probably can't eat a lot of fiber. I can't eat a lot of fiber. So this is the answer. We recommend 10 spirulina and 10 chlorella every day to fill nutritional gaps and give you all the nutrients that you're missing. By the way, as you get older, there are certain nutrients your body doesn't make anymore. And there's one called superoxide dismutase that we'll talk about. Algae has the highest concentration of it. Also, glutathione drops as you get older. Algae has the highest concentration of it. Chlorophyll is proven to help build your immune system. And as you get older, your hormones drop, and this also causes your immune system to drop. Algae has the highest concentration of it. It doesn't matter what you do with spirulina or chlorella algae, it seems to have the answer. And the fact that it's absolutely effortless is what makes it simple. So again, one tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables.
Yeah. I mean, if everybody's not looking at the YouTube video, the tablet again is kind of like a baby aspirin. That's why she said, take 10. It's so easy. I've tried ENERGYbits too. And you just pop in your mouth. 10 is nothing. And then you get just with one, a huge plate, which I would say, I don't know, that plate looks like it would be maybe half.
It's almost a pound of vegetables.
Yeah. I was going to say 500 grams. Yeah. Or about a pound of vegetables. That's amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Who eats a pound of vegetables other than me? I mean, I do love vegetables, but I'm one of the exceptions, but I still take ENERGYbits because I do like to have a little bit of extra as well. And there's other stuff in algae that you don't get in the vegetables, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And let's face it, there's so much glyphosate and pesticides used on vegetables. So when you're eating out, I mean, I love salads and I do love vegetables. Certain ones give me gas. And so I have to stay away from them. The cruciferous vegetables are good for you, but they give me gas. And so you never get gas from the algae. And so it's a great, and we'll talk about what the two different algae do, because chlorella stimulates peristalsis, which is bowel movements. A lot of people use the vegetables to stimulate because of the fiber. And by the way, chlorella does have fiber, but a lot of people eat vegetables because they know they need the fiber to help with bowel movements. Well, chlorella gives it to you. Spirulina does not, but it's definitely chlorella. That's one of the benefits why you want to take both of them. But
how much fiber do you have in like the 10 tablets? Have you ever calculated that?
I don't think I have the actual, I don't have it in front of me, but it's a small amount, but chlorella has the hardest cellulose wall in the plant kingdom. And this is why it also pulls out toxins. It pulls out all the heavy metals, glyphosate, pesticides. Yeah. So that fiber, even though it's a small quantity, is very powerful because of its detox and chelation capabilities. Spirulina has zero fiber because it is a bacteria. It has no cellulose wall, which is why it's safe for newborns, children, because there's nothing for your body to digest. It just absorbs it instantly. So anyway, so that's how I got into this, just helping my sister recover from cancer, which she did. And then I learned more about plant-based nutrition. And then I learned more about the algae being the most powerful, quote, plant in the world. But most people don't know about it or the benefits of it because it's not grown here and no one's explained it to you. And also, up until recently, most of the spirulina and chlorella that you get is grown in China by large companies who just contract it out, and they sell anywhere from 50 to 100 different products, supplements, and they don't pay any attention to the way it's grown or dried. And so it's just a volume-based industry, very profit driven. And so you're buying stuff that doesn't have all the efficacy that ours has, because this is all we do. We
Yeah.
only, and I have personally overseen every single aspect of it, because we, again, we grow it in triple filter spring mountain water, then we air dry it without high heat, which preserves critical nutrients like the blue pigment that's in the called phycocyanin, that's in the spirulina, and the superoxide dismutase, both of which are deactivated by high heat. And then we press them into these little tablets that we call bits, because they're bits of nutrition, nothing else in it.
Yeah.
100% spirulina or chlorella, 100% unadulterated. It's a raw food because we do not use high heat. So all the nutrients are preserved. And I can't say that that happens with other companies. You could get raw spirulina, but then it's messy and tastes terrible and expires quickly, and you have to chew it, and
And
you can't
even
travel with
where,
it.
like, I don't even know
Well,
where you would get some fresh spirulina. It's never
there
heard
are
of it.
some, there's very few companies that grow it, and they usually grow it for therapeutic centers like the Hippocrates Institute. We uses raw spirulina because raw, fresh spirulina has not been treated with high heat. So it has all of these healing properties. I don't know if you're familiar with a place called the Hippocrates Institute. It's in West Palm Beach. It's been around for 50 years, and they're known for taking patients who have like stage 4 cancer, and they have a pretty 90% healing rate. And one of the big things they do is give them fresh spirulina, because it's alkaline, which helps prevent cancer cells from growing. The blue phycocyanin that's in the spirulina has what's called anti-angiogenesis properties, which means it stops the growth of blood vessels to tumors or cancers. It has the capability of killing, the blue phycocyanin kills cancer cells, proven to kill cancer cells. You can Google it online, and it's very nourishing. So these are the attributes of raw spirulina, and it has this superoxide dismutase, which restores your mitochondria. So, but the problem is, after if you get it at a place like that, it's fine. But when you leave and you want to maintain your health, you can't really use raw spirulina because it's messy, expires quickly, tastes terrible, and you can't travel with it. But we have raw spirulina because we don't use high heat. So we're actually in the midst of talking to them, because they want to be able to recommend a brand to their patients after they are discharged, so they can continue enjoying the benefits of raw spirulina without any of the hassle of finding the real live stuff and chewing it and eating it, and it's blah, blah, blah. So we're really excited. We hope that we get to work with them. So yeah,
That would be great. That would keep us posted with that. But
yeah.
I'm curious. So then, are you saying that most, when we go to the health shop, where they would have spirulina and chlorella, but most of that would be dried with high heat, and so it will be not the same as ENERGYbits?
Unfortunately, yes. There's some exceptions, of course, but if it came from China, if it's sourced from China, I can almost promise you that it has been dried with high heat, because they're volume producers in China. Same with India. It's a volume. Taiwan is known for its high quality, difficult certification. We have GMP certification. We grow it organically. Taiwan, by the way, is not China. Yes, China is thinking of invading Taiwan, but Taiwan is a different culture, a different focus. It's completely different from China.
It's a great place to visit too. I'd love it.
It's
You're
so
like
beautiful.
food culture and mountains and nature, and it's lovely.
The people are absolutely lovely, and they take such great pride in what they do, and it's like it's completely opposite from certainly when it comes to algae production that you find in China. So if you want to at least protect yourself from missing the nutrients, because I tell people getting a spirulina chlorella that's been dried with high heat is like buying a car without an engine. It just won't work like you think it will. That's why I kept wondering, why does our algae work so much better than anybody else's? And that's what led me to do this deep dive into mitochondria health. And then I found out what the mitochondria need. We'll talk about it because it's loaded in our algae, and it's preserved because this thing called superoxidismutase, which is an antioxidant, is also an enzyme. And anyone knows anything about nutrition knows that enzymes are killed with high heat over 114 Fahrenheit, any enzyme. This is why when you cook your vegetables, you're losing some of the enzymes. But if you steam them lightly, you can preserve those enzymes, and enzymes are necessary for digestion, among other processes in your body. And same with I've got science that proves that the blue phycocyanin that I talked about, that is proven to kill cancer cells, is also deactivated. The capability of it drops, it plummets with the exposure to high heat. And again, that's why places like the Hippocrates Institute use fresh spirulina when they're treating their patients with cancer.
So we're going to just assume anybody's listening who has cancer or knows to somebody with cancer, obviously go talk to your doctor first when you are,
yes,
adding anything into your diet. But I would love to know a little bit more about this power of spirulina and the anti-cancer properties, because I remember listening to you in another podcast, and you did talk about chlorella as a detoxification if somebody's taking chemo treatment, and that's also really important. So if somebody's listening now who's in this category, and this, women in menopause are going through this transition, we are at that high risk stage. So I'm sure there's people who are in this area. What do they need to look out for, first of all, when they are questioning this and talking to their doctor about it? And how is it that are they supposed to take both spirulina and chlorella, or
yes,
how
for
does that
different
work?
reasons. So here's the problem with the medical community, and I don't want to bash the medical, because I'm so grateful for so many of their capabilities and interventions, and they're really terrific for post, any kind of sort of healing after, an accident or something. The medical community does amazing things. Unfortunately, their awareness and knowledge of nutritional solutions is virtually zero. So you can talk to your doctor all you want about spirulina and chlorella, or this particular pigment called phycocyanin, which, by the way, is spelled Phycocyanin, phycocyanin, which is proven to kill cancer cells. And the pharmaceutical industry knows this because they use it in their cancer treatments. But I can almost promise you, your doctor will know nothing about it. So they'll say that it's garbage, but it isn't. It's just that with 100,000 studies documenting the health benefits of spirulina and chlorella, of which helping kill cancer cells is one, and there's maybe not hundreds, although there could be hundreds on this particular capability, and I can explain the actual process of what happens. It's just not known. It's just not known. I am the only person in the world that I'm aware of teaching people about the various nutrients found in algae. So it's not algae that's helping you with these healing processes. It's the nutrients that are in the algae that are difficult or impossible to find in other foods, or are no longer produced by your body. Like this superoxidismutase is produced in our body from the moment we're born until the magical age of 30. And like a lot of things like melatonin, hormones, after the age of 30, your body stops producing them. And this exposes your mitochondria to free radical damage. I mean, we're kind of jumping around. I normally kind of walk people through the whole process, but this is one of the reasons why cancer is so prevalent, particularly in women after the age of 30, because your mitochondria, we'll get to mitochondria, they're the what's called the organelles in all your cells that generate what's called cellular energy. And you need cellular energy to do everything. Thinking, walking, talking, your immune system, everything is determined by cellular energy. It's literally the electricity that keeps your body alive. But the mitochondria get damaged in the process of generating this cellular energy, which is called ATP, because one of the byproducts of cellular energy is something called a free radical. And there's a specific type of free radical that is released in the mitochondria. It's called superoxide, and it is 3 times as damaging as your traditional free radical. Now, your body creates this stuff called superoxide from the moment you're born until the age of 30, which protects your mitochondria from this damaging free radical called superoxide. But then, so I tell people, think of superoxide, the superoxide dismutase reduces superoxide. So I
Yeah.
say, and by the way, superoxide dismutase is easier to call it SOD because it's just shorter to say. So I tell people, think of SOD as a big Gulf umbrella. Yes, which protects your mitochondria from the rain of free radicals that are being released always as a byproduct of ATP. You want ATP because if you have no ATP, you're dead, effectively. So you have this big Gulf umbrella that's protecting. They're still happening, but you know, when you have a big Gulf umbrella in the middle of a rainstorm, you're laughing because you're protected. It protects you from everything. But by the time you're 30, that big Gulf umbrella, which has been protecting your mitochondria, is about the size of a totes umbrella. It's like a city umbrella. So you're getting a little rain on your shoulders, not as much as your Gulf umbrella, but it's doing a little bit of good. By the time you're 35 or 40, that umbrella is about the size of a cocktail umbrella. There
No.
is no protection whatsoever. The free radicals never stopped, but up until 30, you were protected from them by this thing called superoxide dismutase, which, by the way, turns those free radicals into harmless water and oxygen. So when your mitochondria are functioning properly, this is why there is water and oxygen in your cells. And the oxygen helps keep the cell alkaline. Again, so this harkens back to the alkalinity story and cancer not being able to exist in an alkaline environment, which is because it's lots of oxygen. So when you have less of protection from this damaging free radical, your mitochondria die, they get damaged, there's less oxygen in the cell, which makes it more acidic, which attracts cancer, and it's just a downward spiral. And you can't get this stuff called superoxide dismutase in medicinal quantities in any food. There's like spirulina has 7,000 times more of it than cabbage. It's like infinitesimal when it's in vegetables, like cruciferous vegetables. So it's very, very, very concentrated in spirulina and chlorella, but highest in spirulina. And here's the benefit. Spirulina is a bacteria. And so all the nutrients in spirulina are absorbed almost instantly. They do not get damaged in your stomach lining like many nutrients do in your gut, because it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. And if you chew the spirulina, it is an acquired taste because it's very chewy because of the protein and the essential fatty acids. So most people do swallow it, but it doesn't matter. It's still absorbed almost instantly because spirulina has no cellulose wall. So all of the protein, all the aminos, all the 40 vitamins, minerals, and most importantly, that superoxide dismutase gets absorbed quickly, and so does the blue phycocyanin, which has these cancer killing properties. So
yeah, and I love that that you keep mentioning you could swallow. You're right. They do taste, it's an acquired taste. And I love that they're in these tablets. And I first found them when I was at a biohacking conference years ago. And I was like, this is a brilliant idea, because up until then I was using powders and I'd put it in, I'm thinking, oh, there's a lot of protein in here. And I'm going to put it in my protein shake. And it was like, ugh, I just couldn't
I know.
taste it. And I was like, how am I going to get this stuff inside me?
Yeah.
And so that's why I love that you call them bits, and they are little teeny tiny bits, and they can be taken super easily. So thank you for creating that just solving that problem.
I don't want to take full credit for that because that's how they use it in Asia. Yes, it's available in powder, but this is how they've been using it in Asia for 60 years. So I didn't come up with it. I just discovered it. And so as people listen to this, hopefully you're starting to realize that algae isn't new. It's just new to you. Just like you didn't know about quinoa or chia or matcha or bone broth or a lot of these other nutritional interventions, I call them, which are so healing. They've existed in other countries for centuries. The Aztecs in Mexico survived on spirulina 250 years ago. It was because they grew spirulina in these big ponds. And when the Spanish invaded, they thought the ponds were just, marshes and pond scum. So they drained them. And that had previously been their main source of food for the Aztecs. And so they got so weak that the Spanish conquered them because they no longer had spirulina. So I want people to understand, what you're hearing from me is I've spent 14 years researching the nutrient powers and efficacy of the nutrients in spirulina and chlorella, but it's not new. And why should the Asians be the only ones benefiting from this? They know about it, they've used it, they use it daily. I think it's your turn. And so I take a lot of pride in helping take very complicated science and explaining it to people so that you can understand this is the most effortless way to protect yourself and regain your health. And you're going to find out that spirulina and chlorella do completely different things in your body, but I call spirulina your nutritional insurance. It fills all your nutritional gaps, ones you don't even know about, particularly as if you're menopausal, because your body is no longer producing certain nutrients that you absolutely need to survive. And chlorella is, you're going to find out, I call it your health insurance, because it builds your immune system and pulls out toxins and keeps you healthy. So it's a health wellness algae, and spirulina is a nourishing, energizing algae. It energizes you mentally and physically, but most importantly, at the mitochondria level, which is what creates the cellular energy for you. I say cellular energy is like money. You can't have too much money. You can't have too much cellular energy. And if you don't have enough cellular energy, what happens is your body, it dribbles out small amounts of cellular energy. So your brain only gets a small amount, your immune system only gets a small amount, your heart only gets a small amount. So nothing works optimally. So when you get exposed to something, whether it's a virus or a cold or you fall or something, you don't have the resources to fight it. But when you have sufficient cellular energy from healthy mitochondria, you can. And the reason why everything falls apart literally after the age of 30, here, you want to know why?
Why?
Because we've been on Earth for 2 million years. And for almost all of that time, except for the last 100 and 150, we died at 30. Our biology thinks we're dying at 30. And our lifestyle is keeping us alive to 70 and 80. But our biology has not kept up, and it will not change in time because it takes millions of years to evolve adaptations to new environments. So this is not going to change. Our bodies after the age of 30, certainly after 40 and 50, just stop producing the protective nutrients and hormones that we had up until that moment. But it's not the end of the world, because things like spirulina and chlorella have the nutrients that refortify your body so that you can continue living well, not just long. Who wants to live well if you're not long? I'll share with you, I'm turning 68 in a month.
60 what? 68?
68.
Oh
So
my,
I am
wow.
2
Okay.
years away from 70. I have
Wow.
no chronic diseases. I take no medications. I don't take any other supplements other than spirulina and chlorella, which I've taken every day for 14 years. I have great skin. This is all my own hair. My sleep is great. My poop is great. My energy is great. I only have, mostly millennials and working for me, and they can't keep up with me. I have a wicked travel schedule. I do all the research. I'm writing my PhD exams. I'm running the company. My brain is
Love
on
it.
fire. And the reason is because your brain has the highest concentration of mitochondria. There are 2 million mitochondria per cell in your brain. And so when you have diminished mitochondria because they're getting damaged by all that superoxide, because you no longer after the 30 or 40 have the protection, the first thing that goes is your brain. Alzheimer's, brain fog, dementia. And when you correct it, which you can help correct it with the nutrients found in spirulina, we've done our own clinical trial on this, the first thing that comes back is your brain.
Wow. It's just disrupting those ageist and menopause stereotypes, which I absolutely love, because this is what 68 looks like. This is the way it should be. And I'm just admiring you for all that you know, because if you're listening to this podcast, you hear her energy. You know, and if you saw the YouTube video, you see she looks amazing. And I would love to know for the audience as well. So you have been taking spirulina chlorella. This is great. Obviously, this is part of your stack for your
Yes.
anti-aging stack, or I hate that word anti-aging, but longevity stack. What else are you doing? Have you taken hormones, or have you?
Nope. No,
Your diet, your
I
plant-based diet?
prioritize sleep. I will say for the first, I've been running the company now for 14 years. For the first 13 years, it was pretty stressful. So, I will say stress really interfered with my lifestyle because stress is so damaging. And when I run the company, I try now that things are working and I've got a team, we've got 12 people. I mean, I was by myself for the first 5 years, and that's stressful. And you're trying to do something that the world doesn't believe in and doesn't believe in you. It's stressful. But I was determined not to give up. But anyways, so now that I'm kind of getting things back into a more balanced situation, sleep is a #1 priority for me. So the algae, sleep, and movement. Ladies, I've been reading over and over again new research that shows there is no reason why your metabolism drops as you get older. What happens is you lose muscle mass. And guess where a high concentration of mitochondria are? In your muscles. Your brain is the highest. Second is women's eggs. Of course, we don't have any, ovulation after menopause. Third is your heart. Fourth are your muscles. You keep lifting weights, walking. It's really weight-bearing exercises that build your muscle. And I have not been exercising as much as I need to, and I'm definitely going to build in. I'm moving to Miami, so I'm going to be part of that reason is so I can do more exercises, more regularity in my life. But you keep lifting weights and keeping your muscle mass where it needs to be, and you take algae and you sleep. That's it.
Yeah.
Well,
And there's
a
a
little
lot
bit
of
of light,
protein.
sunlight.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
protein in algae. And I mean, I've tried to get, like tablespoons of spirulina. Is it spirulina that has the protein in it?
Well,
Or
they
the
both,
chlorella?
spirulina and chlorella, both have spirulina has 64% protein. There is
Wow.
nothing in the world with more
Yeah.
protein than spirulina.
It's
Nothing.
crazy.
Chlorella has 60%. So it's still very
Yeah.
high, but spirulina, because it has more and it also has no cellulose wall, it gets into your body quickly. We for 6 years, we were a sports nutrition company because the marathoners found out about it, then the triathletes, then the Olympic athletes. And because spirulina has the high protein that builds your muscle, and it has these nutrients that generate energy, you get the best workout when you take spirulina before any kind of workout, running, yoga, weightlifting. It gives you endurance, it gives you focus, especially the focus, because when you're running or you're doing endurance athlete sports, one of the first things that go is your focus. And so this helps keep up your focus. But yeah, it's the concentration. This is why, again, I call spirulina your nutritional insurance. You could live on this stuff forever. We're not suggesting you do, but I did the nutrient profile and found out that it's almost identical to mother's breast milk on an amino acid, same aminos, same proportions, which explains why in Japan, it's one of the few things that will keep newborns alive if they can't digest mother's breast milk. They put it in water.
Wow.
I think it's spirulina or chlorella because they're virtually identical.
And
Yeah.
how many bits and tablets do we need to eat to get enough protein, let's say for 10, 20, 30 grams? Because you showed us the chart with all the vegetables and you're like,
Yeah.
great, one tablet,
Yeah.
so many vegetables. How about one tablet and how much protein? Because a
Well,
lot of women have struggle trying to get enough protein into their
yeah.
diet. And we don't always want to eat animals all the time. It's something to
Yeah.
get tired of it. It'd be nice to
Yeah.
substitute with
Absolutely.
spirulina.
And whether you're carnivore, paleo, ancestral, vegan, algae fits into all of it. A lot of people go carnivore because they don't want lectins or oxalates, or they had stomach damage from them. There are no lectins and oxalates in algae. The reason why plants develop lectins and oxalates, which are sharp proteins that disturb your stomach lining and cause pain, and the plants develop it evolutionarily to protect themselves from bugs and predators because they do the same thing to them.
Yeah.
Algae is not a land plant. It started in the ocean.
Amazing.
Never had to develop defensive mechanisms like lectins and oxalates. That's why Dr. Gundry is a big fan of us and of algae, because there's no lectins and oxalates. And he wrote a book called The Plant Paradox, because plants can be good for you, but they can also be damaging. So you have to be really careful. So carnivores don't eat plants, or very, very few. You can have algae because there are no lectins or oxalates, and it still gives you the nutrients that you're missing when you're on carnivore. So I want to show people this chart. Animal protein is all bound up in aminos, and it can take up to 3 days sometimes if you don't have the factors and cofactors to break them down into individual aminos, because your body needs to absorb them as aminos. But so animal protein can take a long time, and then often if you don't have the factors to break it down, you can only sometimes only absorb 10%. So as aminos. So let's say you add 50 grams of steak. If you don't have the proper digestive aminos, maybe you only absorb 5%. So, because it's 10%. So 50% of animal protein became 5%. I'll tell you why that's important. So remember that. Then you have what's called collagen, which is in smaller clusters of aminos. They're called peptides. Those get absorbed faster. And then you have algae, which the aminos are individual. They get absorbed instantly. So this is why it's so efficient nutrition. No work for your body to get access to the aminos, because your body can't use animal protein as it is. It has to be only in aminos. So it gets absorbed instantly and can go to work instantly. So to answer your question, what you need to take. So 30 tablets, which we sell them in little pouches, and we have bags of 1,000, but 30 tablets contains 5 grams of amino acids, 5 grams of protein. And you say, well, that's not very much. But remember, 50 grams of animal protein may turn into 5 grams of aminos. When you eat 5 grams of spirulina, you get 5 grams of aminos. So 5 grams of aminos in spirulina is the same, can be considered the same as 50 grams of animal protein, which is about the size of your fist.
Wow.
So, and because algae is a plant, and it's both the spirulina and chlorella, they're in the food plant-based category, although again, spirulina is technically a bacteria. There's no upper limit. Our NHL players have 75 spirulina before a hockey game because it gives them focus and energy on the ice. I've taken sometimes up to 100 a day, not recommending that, but there is no, your poop will be green because of the high chlorophyll, but there is no upper limit. So depending on what your goal is, you can take as much as you want, but to feel any kind of benefits, we recommend 10 spirulina. And because usually you're hungry and tired and want brain focus and activity, high activity during the morning or afternoon, we generally recommend spirulina in the morning or the afternoon. As lunch, you could take 30 for lunch. There's only 1 calorie per tablet, by the way. If you're on a GLP-1, please take this every day, because if you aren't eating enough protein because you're not eating, you will have muscle mass loss. This will help prevent that because there's so much protein in it, and it's efficient protein. It gets into your body very, very quickly. So 10 tablets a day is what we recommend for just filling nutritional gaps as a sort of a maintenance. And by the way, we do have a 20% discount code for your listeners that gives them, I think it's Zora.
Zora, Zora, yes.
So, and I don't want people to have sticker shock when they go on our website. And
it's a very generous discount. There's only one other person I know who's given us a 20%.
Oh,
so
wow.
really
there you go.
nice. Yeah.
And so a bag that we sell all the different brands in large bags of 1,000 tablets. And they're normally $130. I don't want people to have sticker shock, because one bag of the algae of 1,000 tablets has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. So 551 pounds of vegetables, that's about 30 grocery carts of food in one of nutrition in one bag. So a very efficient nutrition. And so back to the 10 tablets a day, using the Zora discount code, 10 tablets a day works out to $1 a day. $1 a day for giving your body the nutrition that it needs, the protein that it needs to maintain you. Now, if you have a health condition like cancer, heart disease, any kind of condition you're trying to correct, the therapeutic amount would be 30 tablets. In fact, you can take more if you want, but and take the 30 daily until you have a clear diagnosis of whatever it is that you are facing. And just on a note, just because women have been found to have more Alzheimer's diagnoses than men. So we did a clinical trial last year with a small group of actually military veterans who had suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and had been discharged for 10 or 15 years. And so we did a brain scan before they started taking spirulina, and then we gave them 1 pouch of 30 tablets every day for 30 days. Then we did another brain scan. And within 30 days, their brain inflammation completely disappeared.
Oh,
We have
wow.
the images to show that. Their sleep improved. One gentleman had multiple sclerosis. His tremors went away. This is because it has these healing properties for your mitochondria. And your brain has the most mitochondria.
So
And so when you
I,
have damaged mitochondria, this is what leads to Alzheimer's and dementia and anxiety. Sorry,
I have
there's a great book I want to recommend to
oh,
people to
yeah.
read. It's called Brain Energy. It's written by Dr. Chris Palmer. He's a psychiatrist, lecturer at Harvard. And he talked about how every brain disorder, doesn't matter whether it's anxiety, a post-traumatic stress disorder, is due to damaged mitochondria. And because spirulina is proven to heal the mitochondria, this is your answer.
Mm.
And we've even had clients who use the product who sent us unsolicited. They just sent us a big email saying, "Oh my God, my dementia was so bad I couldn't figure out how to work the microwave. I couldn't remember my address, and my partner gave me the spirulina, and within 24 hours, my focus, I was fine." So this is a real person telling us
Yeah,
this.
you mentioned in another podcast that if somebody is going through chemotherapy, this is Chlorella is a great thing for detoxification. But you said something, and I don't remember if you said don't take it within 24 hours of the treatment, or what was that?
Yeah. So Chlorella, because we haven't talked a lot about Chlorella, is a wellness detoxing algae, and so a lot of people are using it and have been using it when they're taking chemotherapy, because chemotherapy makes you very nauseous because it's, killing your immune system, basically. But it's killing everything, not just the bad cancer, but also everything else. And so to prevent the nausea, Chlorella pulls out toxins, all toxins, heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation, and radiation. In fact, the United Nations used it after Chernobyl back in the 60s when there was an outbreak. And so it pulled all the radiation out of everybody, so they were healthier. When the Fukushima disaster happened 10 years ago in Japan, the entire global supply of Chlorella was bought up by the Asians within 24 hours. And because as a plant, we all had to wait like 2 months to get the next supply of Chlorella, because everybody knows that it pulls out radiation. So when you're getting radiation treatments for cancer treatments, it does the same thing. But we don't want it to interfere with what your doctor wants it to do for you. So if after your radiation treatment, but the next day it's done what it needs to do for that particular treatment, then you are okay to take the Chlorella. And we definitely want at least 30. You could probably take 60 if you wanted, because you need 30 for detox benefits. With spirulina, 10 is nutritional, 30 is therapeutic. With Chlorella, 10 will give you the wellness benefits because it has the highest chlorophyll in the world. Remember, chlorophyll is very alkaline. It kills bacteria. Chlorophyll has been used for centuries for helping people recover from surgeries because, by the way, chlorophyll is the chemical composition is identical to your hemoglobin. So chlorophyll is very healing. This is chlorophyll. This is your hemoglobin. The only difference is chlorophyll has magnesium atom in the middle, and your blood has the iron atom in the middle, which is what carries oxygen. So chlorophyll is very healing to your body and to your blood. And it's also a fat-based pigment, so it heals your cell walls. But so if you just want wellness benefits and you want to replace vegetables, because there's Chlorella has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula, 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll. There is nothing with more chlorophyll than Chlorella. That's why it's called Chlorella, because of the chlorophyll. But for detox purposes, you need at least 30. And fortunately, they come in little pouches of 30 if you don't want to count them out. Because if there's not enough Chlorella in your system, it will attach to the toxin, but it will not pull it completely out and remove it. And toxins, by the way, are removed from your body 4 ways. Breath, so releasing breath. This is why breath is so important as part of your healing process, not only to oxygenate, but to release toxins. Sweating. This is why saunas are so important. This is why exercise is so important, not only for other healing properties, but for releasing toxins. Urine and bowel movements. Those are the 4 ways your body gets rid of toxins. And so chlorella speeds up peristalsis, which is bowel movement, so that's good. I don't actually know if it really helps with urine, other than it does actually, now I think about it, because very often people get urethra infections because it's too much bacteria, and chlorella has high chlorophyll, which kills bacteria.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? And then
Amazing.
for detoxing out of your cells or your blood, you need enough of them because that hard cell wall attaches to them and pulls them out through all 4 methods.
Where,
So
where,
it's,
where did you get, sorry, because I know we're going to have to wrap up soon. Where did you
yeah.
get, I told you earlier, my girlfriend who's 40, diagnosed with breast cancer recently. I told her, get these energy bits, get on it. And she's like, well, they recommend 10. And I said, no, you got to get 30. And she says, why? I think she just wants to conserve or doesn't want to take 30 of them. What can I tell her? And where did you get this number 30 from?
Well, it's the concentration of the nutrition. If you're sick, okay, I'll put it in context. Let's say you're on a desert and you're so dehydrated. Why would you give yourself 1 drop of water when a full glass is sitting there to bring your dehydration, to remove it? Why would you do that? Why? When you know in the science, tens of thousands of studies prove that your mitochondria are the most essential thing for your health, and you know they're being damaged by free radicals, and you know that something called superoxide dismutase will protect them, why would you cheat yourself by having the fewest number? Because that will not give you the benefits that when you are in a deficit, you need to bring your body back up to homeostasis. Once you are at homeostasis, that's when you can maintain something. And that's why the 10 tablets is sufficient to maintain. It has 40 vitamins and minerals, but it has these nutrients that aren't found in any other food. People, wake up. You need to nourish your body. Your body is like your cell phone. If you do not plug your cell phone in to charge it, it will not work the next day. There are certain nutrients that your body needs at all ages. And after the age of 30 and 40, it simply is not making them for you. And so you need to replenish, because if you don't replenish, you're literally not going to live, because you will have insufficient cellular energy, because you have insufficient mitochondria. And I'm not making this up. It's all documented in tens of thousands of studies. There are 25,000 studies. That's a big number. 25,000 studies documenting that superoxide dismutase prevents Alzheimer's, prevents heart disease, prevents inflammation, prevents mitochondrial disease. Why? Because it has these capabilities of protecting the mitochondria, which are your lifeline to life, period. Do not cheat yourself. $1 a day is what 10 tablets take. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I get so annoyed with people thinking, well, the bag of $130, I'm not going to spend $130. Okay, fine. If you break it down, it works out to $1 a day. What vegetable can you get? What food, what protein can you get that costs you $1 a day that has restorative properties, not just nutritional properties? This is the answer. This is a gift to us from Mother Nature. I get so wound up, as you can tell, because it's been around for 4 million years. People don't know about it because it's not grown outside of Asia. The medical community doesn't want you to know that phycocyanin kills cancer cells. They use it in their cancer treatments because it ejects something called the cytochrome C molecule, which then kills the cancer or senescent cells. As you get older, you have these things called senescent cells, also known as zombie cells. They're cells that don't do anything. They've replicated so many times, but they don't die, and they're inflammatory. And this is why fasting is really good, because it generates what's called autophagy or apoptosis, which kills those senescent cells, or cryotherapy is really good because it kills senescent cells. But maybe you don't want to do that, or maybe you want to have an adjunct to that, because when you take something like spirulina, which has this blue phycocyanin that kills senescent cells, job done,
And it's so
right?
much cheaper than cryotherapy. I'm telling
It's
you.
cheaper than
That stuff is
cryotherapy. It's
expensive.
better for you than chemotherapy. It's less
Yes.
invasive. I mean, put your hand up if you want chemotherapy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nobody in the room, of course. Why and why would you? This is Mother Nature. Mother Nature has the answers for us. We just
Yeah.
live in such a busy, tech-driven society that we are not slowing down to observe the things that are there for us. Think about it. What are the best things for you? Sleep, that's natural. Light, sunlight, that's natural. Oxygen, that's natural. And I would say movement, that's natural. And algae, that the first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. Doesn't get any more natural than that. Our mitochondria, by the way, are proven to have come from algae. It's all in a theory called endosymbiotic theory. The first life on Earth was a cyanobacteria like spirulina. There was no oxygen on life on Earth. After 1 billion years, it released enough oxygen so other aerobic cells could grow, except they didn't generate cellular energy very well. So the larger cells absorbed the small anaerobic cell, and instead of digesting it, it coexisted and became mitochondria. Algae became mitochondria. Proven
Crazy.
in science. Proven. So if
Amazing.
you want to know why algae does all these amazing things, by the way, I didn't mention this, but spirulina or algae, both types, are the only cell in your body with 2 membranes. All of your cells have a lipid membrane around it, including your mitochondria. Your mitochondria have another second inner membrane that prevents almost all antioxidants from getting in there. That's why vitamin E doesn't help you with longevity. That's why vitamin C doesn't help you with longevity, although those are both antioxidants. This inner membrane is left over from when it was a single cell by itself. When it got absorbed, that membrane didn't disappear. It just got covered by a second membrane. But all the nutrients that are found in algae have receptors that can get into the mitochondria because they're family. If you ever
Amazing.
doubted that algae was good for you, look into that. It's called endosymbiotic theory. Every single article in PubMed that talks about the genesis of mitochondria recognizes this. So people, listen, Mother Nature gave us the solution for life, for health, for protecting us. All the good things that are out there for us are natural, and they're from Mother Nature. So yes, these devices, and I have like 3 red light devices. They're terrific. Cryotherapies. I'm a big biohacker. I support the biohacking community. It's bringing back things that we used to do naturally, like cold plunges, right?
Yep.
Red light. People in India 2,000 years ago, they used to get up at sunrise to do their yoga practice. Why? Because the red light at sunrise is the strongest. Red light heals your mitochondria. Red light reduces inflammation. But who's going to get up at sunrise anymore to do that? And maybe if it's cold, it's difficult. So that's why red light devices are great to have at home. But algae will up-level any kind of red light cryotherapy, cold plunge, because it's a symbiotic and natural way to heal your body. There are things out there that are so natural, we've just forgotten about them.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, ladies, listen up. Get your energy bits. Get at least 10 of them. If you're going through some period of detoxification, just take the 30. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only temporary until you really get yourself sorted, and then you can go back to maintenance.
Yeah. And again, the spirulina is, well, we have 2 brands. We have Beauty Bits and ENERGYbits. And the reason why there's 2 is I started with just the spirulina, which is in blue because it's a blue-green algae with that blue phycocyanin. But I found women weren't buying it. And I asked my girlfriends, why do you think women aren't buying the spirulina? And they said, you got to give it a cute name and make it pink. And because honestly, that's what they told me. And then I read and researched that spirulina has more collagen in it than collagen powder.
No way.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep. Up to 400%. And by the way, collagen powder is not a sustainable crop, and it's made from melted down animal hides and tendons and stuff. So, and what do you think they use to melt that stuff down? Chemicals. So
Oh, geez.
spirulina is natural, organic, sustainable. So there's two brands of spirulina. This is the one that's on my countertop. They are absolutely identical. I'm not trying to trick anybody. I just want women to feel really comfortable using spirulina, and this makes me happy. I design all the packaging, by the way. I want it to be really happy, as energizing to you visually as what it does for you in your body. So we
Your
have two
skin looks
spirulina.
amazing. So by the way,
Thank you. So two spirulina. And spirulina is a nourishing, energizing algae that energizes you in the moment, brain, body, and mitochondria. And chlorella is a wellness detoxing algae. Usually you take it at night because this is when your body goes through a detox repair cycle. And it also stimulates stem cell release, cellular growth, stimulates peristalsis, which is a bowel movement, and it helps you sleep because it has the highest tryptophan in the world. So 10 of these before bed will certainly help. For medicinal purposes, 30 is what you need for pulling out toxins, pulls out alcohol, by the way. So if you have any cocktails, 30 tablets before bed, you'll wake up like just feeling fantastic. And then we have another brand called ENERGYbits, which is a blend of the two algae. So it just simplifies things, but then you have to so if you were going to take 10 of these in the morning and 10 of these at night, then you need 10 of these in the morning and 10 at night. So it just makes it easy for people.
yeah.
But you'll find your food bill goes down because you're not as hungry, because you have the protein. Your vegetable bill will go down. You can eliminate about 5 supplements. You don't need a multivitamin, CoQ10, biotin, fish oil. Get rid of that fish oil. It's rancid by the time you buy it. And so it's inflammatory instead of being anti-inflammatory. And I tell people, where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae. They just consolidate it in their body. So save the ocean, save the fish, save you. You'll spend less money, have less headaches. The expiry dates on our algae is 3 years. You don't have to clutter up your countertop with all those different supplements, expiring on certain dates. What vegetable lasts 3 years? Honestly, right?
Exactly.
It's as close to a miracle as you're ever going to get. And if there wasn't 100,000 studies documenting all the health benefits and more, I didn't even get really into the cancer thing, but it's crazy what this stuff does. Please do yourself a favor. This is the easiest, most effortless solution that will up-level, restore your health, protect your health, improve all of your other biohacks, and it's natural.
I love it. I love it. So go to ENERGYbits.com, use the code Zora for 20% off. Tell me what you think, ladies, when you get it. I want to hear your feedback. I love them. I think everybody should be on some one of these, Spirulina or Chlorella or both.
I'm gonna keep doing this until everyone in the world knows about spirulina and chlorella. Honestly, it's a lifeline, and it's just waiting there for us. We just have to grab it, right?
I never knew the differences between the two. So now it's very clear to me. And I thought I'd need one or the other, but now I'm definitely going to get both. And everyone can find more information about you on Instagram, your ENERGYbits there, Facebook, always ENERGYbits, your website, ENERGYbits.com. I'll have links to all of these in the show notes. And
Yes.
before I let you go, do you have any last words for a woman going through the menopause transition?
Well, women, we live longer than men. And here's the funny thing. I'm a big fan of working with women. My entire company, other than one person, are women. I love working with women. We are problem solvers. We are community people. We help one another. We respect one another. There's not that power thing. But we always seem to work behind the scenes. And what I want to tell you is that your mitochondria, which are working behind the scenes to keep you healthy, they have their own DNA. And guess what? It's all from the women. Your regular DNA, half comes from men, half come. So your mitochondria are one of us. They're one of the girls. They're there to help you bring back and protect your life. And I'm so big on women's health because we're always left out of scientific studies. People assume we have the same biology as men. We don't. And so I'm a perfect example of what this stuff can do for you. And I just want to help women in particular. And I started this because of my sister, and I created packaging for women so that you'll feel comfortable. I'm available to answer questions. Women, we look at, we got a possible female president in America. It's time. Women, step up. You need to look after yourself, gain back the control of your lives, your enjoyment, your pleasure, your everything. We deserve it. And self-care is not selfish. And I just want to help you have more self-care with something that is a gift to us by a woman, Mother Nature. So do it.
Wonderful. Well said. I'm so glad you came on. I'm so glad you explained all these things to us. Next time we talk, you may be a Dr. Catherine.
Hopefully, I got 4 more exams to do out of 16. I'm going to finish them this week.
Well done. Such an inspiration. I'm so proud of you. And
Thank
you are
you.
leading the way, just pioneering for all of us women out there, getting your PhD, in your 60s. This is amazing. And I
Right.
love
Who
it.
does that, right?
It
Almost
shouldn't be.
70.
Yeah, it shouldn't be amazing. Like, this is the way it
Exactly.
is, right?
Just the way it is. Just
Just the way it is.
reach out and grab it, ladies. It's there, but if you don't reach, you can't grab it.
Love it. Well, I'm so excited for you. And I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to talk to you again more about algae. Have a
Yes.
wonderful day.
All right. You too. Thank you, Zora.